back, little helpers. So, last time on our podcast, we had Molly, who suffers from dissociative identity disorder, and we got some feedback after our episode. Not from you all, because we are actually recording this before releasing, but from Molly's alters, who felt like they should be part of the conversation too. And this made us incredibly excited because we would love to meet everybody here who has something to say. So, first of all, Molly, welcome back. And can you tell us what kind of feedback you got from your alters?
As soon as we finished, it was like a kindergarten classroom. Everybody was very excited, had something to say and an opinion. Um, and all of it was positive. Like for the first time, it was like something that like everybody agreed upon, which was great versus it being
Wow.
negative. Um, Having a voice and being validated, and then also the questions of moving forward to today, and then possibly having a voice like that really sparked several of them. Because there's not many times that they really have a chance to have their own voice out in the world, other than around, in therapy at home. My partner or people aren't even aware that it's them that they're talking to.
So, this is actually a pretty big deal then. They're like talking to like thousands of people today. I should have said that.
Yeah. And I also wanted to jump in just in case people are listening who didn't get a chance to listen to the last episode. Molly was so gracious to share her story of discovering that she had dissociative identity disorder, which sounded like it was a challenge in and of itself, like just finding the right diagnosis, a rare disorder, but Molly has managed to make it her superpower, learning to um, learning to manage it and make it work for her, and keeping her parts, all 13 of them, right?
Right.
13? Yeah. And living life with them and living and learning different skills to manage them, learning different skills to manage difficult emotions and experiences. I'm summarizing, so much of what we talked about in a beautiful journey in just like, a couple of sentences. But yeah, just was a really inspiring conversation that we had that, I still hesitate to call it disorder because this is like a way of life that you've made it work for you and found an amazing therapist in Dr. Caitlin Fang, someone who really cares about you, who listens to your needs, developed an evidence-based intervention that really listened to what you wanted out of treatment, right? Or am I just...
Yes, that's the key too, what I wanted out of treatment versus just necessarily what any textbook or
Mhm.
anyone who supposedly said this is the way. And not just listening to myself, but my alters too, and us as a whole, and each as an individual, and how we wanted to proceed with life.
Mhm. Is the right term alters or parts? What do you like to use?
Typically, I say parts,
Okay.
but you
Okay.
know, interchangeable word.
Okay, great.
Yeah, what's so interesting, and like we have all been trained in third wave, flexible, cognitive behavioral therapies. And for every other population, we start out by being like, what do you want? What are your goals? And like, for whatever reason, with this population, treatment tends to be like, all right, so you clearly want integration, and really you just got to do psychodynamic therapy for a really long time. It was just such an interesting thing after so much training, where it's just like, okay, if somebody has 13 different problems and only want to do one, it's not your job to make them work on the other 12. It's your job to help them achieve the goals, as long as like there is no ethical violation or safety risk. Like, it really is patient driven. And this was a cool opportunity to be able to apply that to this
Mm.
population and just be like, great.
I don't actually think a lot of people know that about how much we as therapists try to listen to what our patients want, and tailor our approaches to that. I mean, good therapy does that, but there are a lot of patients with all sorts of disorders who say, yeah, my anger or my anxiety or this coping mechanism is something that's really important to me that's kept me safe. And you're just going to tell me you're going to get rid of this with therapy. I don't want that. And we have to figure out a way to help them with that. So I think that your story was a beautiful example of that, of like, no, these parts are important to me and I want to keep them.
Yeah, it's how I get through every day, just like even today going to the dentist.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Um, I don't like going to the dentist. Not that many people
Don't
do,
blame you. Yeah.
but it's very difficult. And for years, I did not go.
Mm.
Um, and now it's very important to me to take care of my teeth. And so I chipped a tooth and I needed to go like now and have it addressed. But the great thing is like I can either choose to drive there or let somebody else that's allowed to drive and just not be there. Like I don't have to take medication or be sedated to go to the dentist. I can just like let someone else be there who
Mhm.
is responsible and can give me the information or make sure that it's handled appropriately. And like, I don't remember. I don't
Yeah.
remember going in there today. I don't remember what happened. I know what happened and my mouth is a little sore, but like I don't have that like anxiety and that being exhausted from even dealing with that today because somebody else did.
Mhm.
Well, like kind of a tangent, but we were talking about that today, yesterday, whenever we last met, and kind of the intentionality around dissociation. Like if you use exercise as your way of coping, like when do you go for a run versus like when do you actually need to grieve? When do you actually need to feel mad at your partner? And so we talked through like I think Molly was like, well, I have to drive there and tell the dentist. Do you? Or like, could you download that information to someone? Like, what are the parts and how can we leverage this so like the rest of the day is not a giant panic attack? Like what are the ways in which you want to use this versus like when are the moments when it automatically takes over when you need to tune back in? So like if we are grieving and it's just like nope, we don't usually feel sadness at this level, how can we turn that off or like override that automatic impulse so it's more of a choice for how to cope versus like an automatic thing that's gone off the rails in real time?
That's great.
Get it?
That is so super fascinating. I just keep thinking I wish I could offload my dissertation to someone else inside of me. But thinking about how, yeah, sometimes it's something that you might be tempted to do too often and having to realize when, like you, Molly, have to go through the hard things because it's better for you in the long run. When you know that you could let one of your parts take over, that is super fascinating. Did you have resistance to that at first?
That that is actually one of the biggest challenges and biggest anxieties for the longest time.
Mhm.
To really be able to be aware of when someone else was out and allowing them to be versus just them taking over or them working with them to ask permission or for me to allowing the ones when I don't want to do something that are willing to do it. Like it years of working and it's just been really within the last couple that there's like some I don't know flow about it where there's like agreement and more of I guess control in some way. There
Mhm.
are plenty of times I don't have it, but I'd say probably 75% of the day I'm aware that I'm present and if I want to allow somebody I can or they can ask instead of it just being where they took over and I didn't remember large chunks.
Mhm.
Do you feel as if through that work of kind of confronting some of these things that you would maybe otherwise allow other parts of yourself, do you feel like you're becoming a fuller person, a more contoured, like complex person?
Yeah, because I'm not allowing my own fears or insecurities about certain things. Someone else handling me dealing with it, like Caitlin said, dealing with emotions, strong emotions, grief, me feeling it versus someone else, and then me be like, why do I kind of feel off and my body kind of aches and not really realizing what it is.
Mhm.
Learning to sit with emotions is still challenging.
Yeah.
because it is so easy. Somebody else will want to take it over, even if I don't necessarily want them to, because it may be their quote job.
Well, it feels a lot like parenting in some ways. Where like, I know I need to let my kid do certain things, but I'm like, oh, no, no, no. If there's a risk of you falling, I'm going to like hold you and I'm going to make sure. And it's not that I'm even choosing that. It's just like, that is the impulse is like, I have to protect this human and learning that like, oh, she could take a few steps without me being like, oh, is a really, it like goes against the inherent ingrained impulse of like must do for you, like you helpless little creature. And I think part of it is petulance with some of the parts, but a lot of it is just like, no, 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 we have to save you. We have to keep you from having to feel this. Like we must suffer so you don't have to, which is kind. And also we gotta work against it sometimes.
Yeah. They got to trust you to be able to do it.
Fantastic. All right. So we have in our little family structure two littles who have been aging, but Beth and Colleen, who are both under 5, and they are learning how to self-soothe. And in the process of that, we have, oh man, roll call. Let's see if I can do this. Eli, who is a preteen who enjoys camping, hiking, was in charge of like survival. So being able to flee from the house and like survive in the woods or survive in different environments when you had to. Ruby, 15-year-old female who holds some big, big emotions and all of the fun hormones that go with that. We have Jamie, 9, 10. Who I have worked with a lot and who is a delight, very creative. We have Alex, who is 18, who we are going to be talking to. We have Mark and Ray, who are executive functioning folks who are able to take over and do tasks that are like need getting done. Kind of like if you need to do distress tolerance and go into a work meeting and then you can fall apart. They are the work meeting folks and the fixing machines and doing the tinkering. We have Miss Emma, who is
She sews.
lady, delightful, rocking chairs, yarn, the like, who also takes care of the littles. We have little who holds some of the family dynamics. We have Colby, who is still a mystery to me, who was a late emerger in our therapeutic relationship. We have Slayer, who holds anger. Ooh, I feel guilty missing people. Well, missing. Did I get them all? I'm so sorry if there is one of you that I missed, and it's not because I don't love you. And so we have chatted, Molly and I, about folks who could benefit from having a voice and who would love to share and answer questions. We thought that having Slayer talk to you all would be a lovely way of hearing from a part that is traditionally depicted as really scary. So in the movies, like for whatever reason, everyone with DID has like a serial killer in there. And like, oh wow, is that absurd and just like not our reality? Perhaps somebody, but that is certainly not what we are working with. Slayer is the part who holds anger and is just like a delight. Just a delight. Your heads at me. You'll see, guys. And Alex and Ruby would love to chat. If there's anyone else who has strong thoughts, we are also open. Are you getting any vibes as to who might like to come out first?
Ruby.
Fantastic. All right. So Ruby is a delight. She is a creator. She has big feelings and big thoughts. And she is also the part that has really spearheaded the mission to like expand upon the rooms in the house so that parts can have a space where they can get their needs met without having to be in the physical world. Because as you might imagine, if somebody needs to like color and like actually take time in the world every time they feel a feeling, Molly would never have a moment in the day that wasn't taken up, and still folks would not get their needs met. So she has created a Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe situation in a literal wardrobe in her room that has expanded out to create an entire universe that integrates parts of real places she'd like to visit and like fantastical places so she can go and wander through the woods. It is just like the coolest thing. I don't know how she does it. I certainly didn't teach her. So she is a delight. I'm going to look away. I'm actually going to like turn my camera off because I will dissociate while you switch. And I don't want to do that. So I'll be back and chat with you.
Hello.
Hi.
Are you
Ruby?
Ruby?
Hi, I'm Ruby.
Oh, nice to meet
Hello.
you. I'm Kimmy.
Hey. I'm
Hi,
Jacqueline.
Hey, Jacqueline. Hi, Caitlin.
Lovely to meet you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So
Yeah.
we heard that you had a lot to say about this whole podcast process. What's on your mind?
Wow. Because the things that we've listened to from other people we think are bullshit.
Mhm.
And um not saying that everybody is, but it's not like how we live and like what life really is like for us. And we're not dangerous, we're not crazy, and we're not going anywhere.
Great. What is life like for you?
You have to learn how to get along.
Mm,
You
a
have
lot
to
of
learn
you.
because each of us have a role that we play, and so like we're not always the one that gets to be out and doing things for Molly. And when you want something, you have to work together so that you can have it.
Mm.
Uh, and it gets kind of crazy because the little ones cry a lot, and then the guys want to go do things, and then you want to do something else, and then there isn't any money, or Molly's tired, and it just gets a lot.
Mm.
What's it like for you to be not let out very often?
Well, I've worked really hard in my room where I have all kinds of things. I like to do art and crafts and create things and
Me
read
too.
stuff. And yeah, I saw your quilling. I quill.
You quill? I never knew people who quill. That's so cool. Sweet.
Yes. Um, so sometimes I just stay in the room by myself and I'll do my stuff. And then I also have another door that after a long time of working with Caitlin, and we worked on some things and worked with Molly, then I realized that it was okay that I don't have to be here all the time, but I don't have to leave either. So I go in my other door and I have created a place where if I want to go travel, I pick somewhere and I read about it and I travel there, and I can be gone for a day, a week. Um, and I don't have to worry about being there for Molly. I can do my own thing.
Great. Where do you go?
Um, I've been to Paris.
Oh, I've never been to Paris.
I didn't
How
like
is
it.
it? Oh, no. Why not?
I don't speak French.
Oh, yeah, that's a
It was
problem.
very difficult because like nobody spoke English.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and I've been out on a cruise in the water. Out in the
Wow.
Yeah. And I have a notebook that I'm studying different places that I want to go because that's kind of new to be able to get to go. Usually it's just being able to be in the room and creating a big art studio or a pottery studio and everything that nobody else gets to see or gets to be a part of.
Do you let in the other parts into your room so they can see your studio?
My room, but not my back room. I don't allow anybody to go back there. That's
Oh, you don't
How
want to take
come?
anyone on a trip?
none of them. Like living with 13 other people all the time. And, it's it's hard to have your own privacy and keep your thoughts to yourselves. For a long time, we all had our own thoughts, and then it started kind of where we would hear what each other were saying or worried about or complaining about. And yeah, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Because the little ones used to cry all the time, and that's
Yeah.
what I spent a lot of time doing, was taking care of the little ones so they didn't cry all the time. Could kind of function sometimes, and yeah.
Yeah.
So could you tell us, like, how is your relationship with Molly different than it is with the other parts?
Because the other parts still know things that Molly doesn't know.
Mhm.
There's still memories and still different situations and even sometimes emotions that we don't allow her to feel or be a part of. But we kind of have, the little ones don't know a lot about the bigger ones, but us older ones, we know about just about everybody's issues, deal, job, trauma, whatever.
That must be a lot of work and responsibility for you to have that,
Mhm.
to protect her in that way.
Yeah, and it's taken a long time to really trust Molly, where like I don't have to be available all the time, to if something's going crazy or there's something going wrong or and then I need to do whatever.
What was your job, or what is your job? What do you do for Molly?
It's changed a lot over time because I held a lot of the big emotions that when it was like crisis, and I used to do a lot of self-harm and having to work on not doing that um to keep even Molly from doing that. That was somehow to relieve whatever the issue was at the moment. And so I had to learn tools not to do that to gain trust with Molly. And yeah, we finally got past that.
Because you crushed it. And like that hasn't been a problem in so long that you get to enjoy so much freedom and you've actually become really effective at advocating for your needs. We are currently planning a tattoo as a reward for handling very intense emotions for a long time with no self-harm.
Wow.
Doing hard work.
One of the cool things that we learned to do when we used to self-harm was instead of cutting, using a red marker on whatever body part, like it was either our thighs or our arms. And that way, like you could still see something and like have a sensation, but you were doing like no harm to your body.
That's
And
smart.
and then somebody taught us about the butterfly, something about you use butterfly stickers, and that worked for a while, but that was cheesy. But
How do you like therapy, Ruby? I know that Molly was talking about her experience with working with Caitlin, but it must have been hard.
yeah, therapy is hard.
Yeah.
I like Caitlin. Caitlin likes me, and that makes she listens, and um she's good to Molly too, so that makes it easier.
Yeah.
And by doing therapy and some of the things we've done, because we've done that prolonged exposure,
Oof.
then you don't have all them crazy thoughts and see the things and have the flashbacks and worry about things, like starts going away, where it's not like right in your face all the time. You might just sometimes remember the stuff, and that makes it easier to draw something pretty instead of something gruesome.
And so for context, I have primarily worked with Molly directly with prolonged exposure. And like, if any of the parts are having nightmares, flashbacks, because it is all one body, all of that trickles out. And so Molly was having like lots and lots of symptoms, but like with no real idea of what was happening. And so I've done like a couple, not many, You're a special snowflake. But a couple of rounds of prolonged exposure with different parts that are targeted on like full memory traumas that they hold, so that when I was working with Molly, if it wasn't trickling down in the same way, and you have to actually like be the one to repeat the memory and to do the exposures, we were able to get that relief for the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Just hard work. You were like 13 at the time, I think.
Oh,
And like,
wow.
no adolescent therapist. So we made it work though.
We did it.
Yeah, we did.
Did it because it's nice. It's nice not to have nightmares all the time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's nice. It's nice not to see things from the past when you're walking in your own house.
Yeah.
And it's nice not to be afraid and have to hold all that fear all the time too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
learn. Hmm?
How do you, it sounds like you're the part that holds all the really big emotions. That's a big that's a big thing to carry as a 13 to 15-year-old. How do you feel about that role? And what do you think makes you the one who should do it?
I think it's important, and it's because at one time Molly was not able.
Mm,
She couldn't. The things that were going on and the traumas that were happening. Um, there were already others there. She just wasn't aware of it. And then as things started getting harder to deal with, then that became my job to do.
Mm.
And if you think about it, like the folks who are the like, we were just talking about this. It's so funny that they're the big, strong men who get this stuff done. And what an interesting thing that we constructed. But I think, like, if we think about dysregulation and having these really, really big emotions, that isn't really compatible with being the person who's like, I'm going to attend the work
Mhm.
meeting and I'm going to work on the car. And so all the parts who had these like more instrumental jobs were like emotions, no thank you. That is going to get in the way of me doing my job. And so like there were a lot of different roles. For some folks, it was holding a specific trauma that was just like really, really big. And that was their entire job, was like, do not let Molly know that this occurred, no matter what, just hold on to it. And then folks like Ruby, where it was like, all right, you are in charge of all the feelings and like learning how to cope with them. And so it actually makes sense that for a long time that was self-harm, because like
Mhm.
those are really, really big feelings. And that is one strategy that is effective in the short term, even though it is harmful in the long term. And so,
Mm.
it's so interesting how
Mm.
all of the roles are very compatible.
Mm.
That is a sucky one, though. Like, props to you for doing such an incredible job of channeling that into art and creativity and creation. It's very impressive.
You still have to get stuff out sometimes.
Mhm.
Others like to break things and others like to write. And creating things is just, I don't know, it feels good, and it's nice to be able to do something that feels good.
Tell us what you like to create when you want to get something out.
Hmm.
Tell us what you like to create. Like you mentioned ceramics or pottery. You mentioned you have a whole art studio and quilling. What's your favorite way to
Painting
create things out?
is my favorite.
Oh.
And I like to play with different mediums, whether it's, oil, acrylic, or using, charcoal with some sketching, but I'm not really that good at drawing.
Mhm.
do you ever
Mm.
get to do art out in the world, or is it always in your studio?
Usually it's up here in the house. Sometimes when I go out, we've taken pencils and stuff with us. But our next project, we've got a big canvas and a big old shower curtain we're gonna put up on the side of the shed out back, and we're gonna do a big something out there with big paintbrushes and sling paint.
Cool.
Make something. We've never done something so big before, but we're excited about doing
Oh,
that.
cool.
What do you want for yourself? Like you've been doing all this super hard work for so long, and now Molly's in treatment and you're in treatment. Like, where do you see you going and growing?
I like it that I finally have gotten older,
Hmm.
and that's good. And I s- I see us doing more things together to help Molly, and um, as long as I get to do my art and have a little bit of time and nobody like really messes with me, it's all good because we're not going anywhere. Molly's not asking us to leave. We just might not have to be right here all the time. So that leaves me more time to do art and learn how to do stuff and try to do stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. You don't have to work as much. You don't have to protect her as much. You can spend time, doing things that you care about and having more freedom.
Hmm. And I don't have to spend as much time with the other parts like I used to.
Do you not like the other parts? Do you know what the other parts know or feel, or do you all kind of keep to yourselves?
At this point, all of us older ones know everything just about each other. There's just
Hmm.
things, like I choose not to hear everything about some of the others' traumas.
I see.
But like kind of aware and kind of aware of the feelings and the awareness of keeping that away from Molly so like she doesn't know too much too soon, too fast. Um, yeah. And we talk to each other. Um, about things so that Molly doesn't have to hear everything too, because there's a lot of information.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about this last time, but like there is a common area where Molly can
Mm.
hear anything that's happening there. And then in the rooms, as long as the door is closed, that is like a sound barrier.
Oh,
So like powwows can occur, or if you just want to tune out everybody else, there is like a little private space that each part has.
I see. So the parts you could go into each other's rooms and talk to them, but Molly won't hear what you're talking about.
We
I
have
see.
like
Okay.
ballers. So we have like a meditation room, like a
Oh, nice.
you got some fancy amenities up in there.
This
Nice.
place sounds dope as fuck. You get to open a door and you're in Paris. You got this like art studio.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, and not everybody can do it. Like I know that
Mhm.
um, Alex has been working and Eli have been working on trying to create some space behind their room, but um, I don't know exactly how that's coming along for them, but we talk about it. And I think part of it too sometimes is them knowing that when you don't have to be on call all the time,
Hmm.
you know?
I
There-
like, correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression is you have the equivalent of a magic walkie-talkie, whereby if you are like needed or summoned, you have some bat signal that lets you know, like, hey team, come on home. Is that true? Or did
Well,
I just make that up?
no, that's basically the truth because that's why I get to still be here because if Molly needs me, I'm always here, but I don't have to be part of everything all the time.
Mm.
Cool.
Do you ever feel resentful that you have to protect Molly so much and hold so much pain? Or does that just feel like that's you protecting and loving her? Or is it a little both?
A little of both.
Hmm.
Like I don't really do anger. That's kind of somebody else kind of holds. Like, it's the sadness and the anxiety and even like some of the joy is kind
Mm.
of it would be nice if there was more time to be out, but it doesn't really work that way anymore.
Mm.
Used to be we could just take over and have all the time you wanted, whether it was a day or a week or whatever, and then that didn't go so well for a while. And And started working together. Um,
Yeah.
and if we work together, then everybody is guaranteed at some point, kind of like we have a calendar.
Hmm.
Everybody has a day assigned to it. But if there's something you're wanting to do or an event you're wanting to go do or something, you can switch with somebody else. Or if there's somebody that's really upset and needs something, then we just kind of work together.
Man, did that take a while. That was like a solid half a year.
Yeah, because some people don't they just want it their way and that's it.
Uh-huh. Which ones? Which parts
Yeah,
are?
give us the dirt on everyone else.
Well, that would mostly be like Alex and Eli.
Mhm.
When Slayer comes out, it used to be hard. He would come out and he would stay out for a long time and cause a lot of chaos. But
Mm.
that was even before Caitlin.
Yeah, that doesn't
Caitlin got
sound
to know us. She got to know us when we were kind of like starting on the even kill. Mhm.
Oh.
true. Is there
Oh.
anything else that you would like to share or voice or express?
I don't know.
You don't have to. I just wanted to give you an open floor opportunity before we bring out our next guest. Kibby Jacqueline, do you have any other questions for Ruby?
I don't think
Yeah,
so, but it was so much fun meeting you. I wish I
yeah.
could see your art.
Yeah,
Like
me
your
too.
imagination and the worlds you've created just sound unbelievably cool. And you sound so talented.
Yeah. And I can't wait to hear about your next trip where you decide to go.
Barcelona.
Ooh,
That's a good
nice.
one. I wish we had the visual for this because your faces are so much fun. And so are
You're just so
Molly's.
excited. Yeah.
Ruby, do you have a sense of who wants to come out next? Oh, hi.
Caitlin, turn around.
Is it Slayer?
Hi, I'm Slayer.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I heard your British accent and I assumed.
I don't know where it came from. It's just different from everybody else's.
It's nice to
It's
meet you,
been a
Slayer. I'm
while.
Kibby.
Nice to meet you, Kibby. Nice to meet you, Jacqueline.
Nice to meet you.
So we hear that you are the keeper of anger. You have a really important job.
Yeah. Yes, my role is a little bit different than the others, and that is pretty much what I do. I
Mhm.
hold the anger. I keep it. I've kept it from Molly. I've kept it from the others. I've kept them safe. I've kept them safe from anger. I've held the anger and even expressing anger.
Mhm.
Anger used to be very dangerous. You could not express, no one could see it. There was more of a repercussion if it was exposed. So you have to learn to control it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And then, at times it would become volatile, and that's not acceptable either. So that's where I came along, and that's why I hold it. And I'm not, just because in the past I would do things that were crazy, doesn't mean that I'm bad. I am not evil. I just get angry. And sometimes I like to express, I like to break shit.
Mhm. Anger is one of my favorite emotions. Caitlin knows that. Oh, actually, Jacqueline also knows that very well. So tell us a little bit more about anger. How do you experience it? What do you like to do with it? What does it feel like?
I feel anger inside. It's like I start rattling in my guts and it moves up, and it's almost like you can feel your blood start pulsing throughout your body. And
Hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I like to sling shit. I like to break things. Eli likes to burn things, but I like to break things.
Uh-huh.
Um, there were
So
times to break people and I couldn't, so now it's break things.
does Eli feel anger too, or is that exclusively your territory?
Eli holds some anger.
Okay.
A lot of the anger from the younger ones that
Hmm.
doesn't quite as, there was a time I was very vengeful. I never acted on it, but um, this is more of that childish anger, just anger at the world,
Yeah.
where I have specific people and incidences that I'm very angry about and things I would like to.
Hmm.
But there's only so much you can do, you know?
Mhm.
Sounds like you have so many things to be vengeful about, and that anger is so incredibly valid. What's it like to have to just be angry all the time? Are you angry all the time, or is it just sometimes?
No, not all the time, just a lot of the times.
Okay.
I express myself a lot of times. I'm very short, very direct,
Mm,
sometimes a little loud, um, because I just don't have time for bullshit
Mhm.
and stupidity.
mhm,
Um,
It's also what is fascinating to me is that you are holding the anger from years of literal torture. People who literally tortured you, people who neglected, people who knew what was happening and did nothing. Like profound anger in a sense that if we think of the worst things people have done to us and multiply that by 10, it's like a tiny fraction of what you hold. And yet, despite being the person who holds all that anger, you are so clear on like moral boundaries and like I understand urges for like vengeance and I understand feeling the immensity of that and also fully understand that acting on it in violent ways is not actually going to make it better. That's what's incredible to me. Because if we think of like anger, we think of this like blind, impulsive, reckless,
Yeah.
dangerous. And I mean, to be fair, I didn't know you your whole life, but since I have known you, there is just this very deeply mature quality where like I wish that I could have what you have when I am angry to be able to say like I totally fully appreciate that I should feel this and this is valid and like the ways in which I can act on it are like this much because that is my value system. Wild. It's
Mm.
wild. I didn't even teach you that.
yeah, where did you learn that?
when you see so much evil, when you see so much horror and so much pain, you you want to become that to be vengeful, to express yourself, but that for some reason you don't want to be that. You have to do the opposite. And that's part of why I held all the anger. So like this child, this young woman, if she were to explode, like it would be just like horrific, you know, and cause more pain, more torture, more discourse. So that's where I just took in all the anger and um
Mm.
you live with it, you feel it,
Mm.
and work on letting it go to some degree.
Mm.
And only little bits does Molly get. Only little bits. Only little.
Mhm.
It's very frightening for her when you live in an angry world all the time from everyone around you. Everyone is always angry about everything. Um, and any of your actions cause anger. You don't want to become that.
Interesting. So you're in charge of feeling the anger, but also protecting Molly for what anger can do if it just like burst out. I
Yes.
see. Did you also work with Caitlin in therapy, or have you done work on yourself, or are you just learning this on your own?
Um, Years past working before we met Caitlin, I worked with Debbie for a while.
Mhm.
Um, and then just absorbing really what Caitlin has to say and Molly has done. And then Caitlin and I've had conversations. Um, and as each of us have grown, like it's also helped me grow that just, um, I don't want to put up with the little ones' bullshit. So therefore I have to behave too so that it doesn't affect the little ones to be crazy either.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mm,
Hmm.
When do you come out? Like, when does Molly let you take over?
I'm one of the ones that gets scheduled in. I'm in my
Okay.
You don't look happy about that. Well, did you take the steering wheel a little bit too long sometimes?
Claire, did you misbehave in the past?
in the past, yes, that was the thing. And I can understand now where that comes from, but it doesn't mean that I deserve it now either.
Mhm.
But we're
That's the
working on
contingencies.
it.
And when you violate the contingencies, you get your turn skipped. But we haven't had to
Oh,
do that in a very long time, which I'm sure made you pretty mad. And
For a while, my door was locked. I wasn't allowed out.
Mm.
oh.
Molly locked my door and I wasn't allowed out because like anything that I had to say, feel, express was beyond her ability and or the fact that she was just bloody afraid of me. And
Mm.
there really isn't a reason to be afraid of anger necessarily.
Uh-huh. I was wondering if she was scared of anger or scared of what you would do with anger or what you would do if you came out. What do you
Well,
think she
both,
was?
but the thing is, and that's the thing from the past, because in the past, I disappeared several times.
Oh, where did you
Mhm.
go?
Well, I took a trip to Florida. I took the car and went to Florida and decided I wanted to go to Disney World. I mean, I didn't
Fair.
cause anybody. And there
So
were
it's
times
like,
breaking things that shouldn't have been broken or leaving,
Mm,
just or verbal outbursts.
mm-hmm.
so Slayer, you said something kind of cool, which is you don't need to be afraid of anger. And this just struck me because I have so many patients who are so afraid of anger and they're afraid of their own anger. So what do you think about that? Why don't you think we need to be afraid of anger?
Because it's something we all feel. It's something we all hold. Anger makes you want to change something. Anger brings up that sensation instead of wanting to collapse, you want to act on it,
Mm-hmm.
act on things.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Just because people wanted you to sit by and do nothing, and that's what you were programmed to do, to be still and be whatever, there comes a time when you can have a voice, you can be heard, you can move, you can do things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
and
And
to be
Molly's
fair,
still afraid of it.
a
Mm.
lot of the time that Slayer has come out recently have been in moments where Molly has really struggled with confrontation to the point where there is like not like harm, but like those dynamics where it's like, oh, somebody is being a little mean to us. And we're just like, nope, not gonna deal with it, not gonna deal with it, not gonna deal with it. And then it's like, all right. And I have to make deals with Molly where it's like, look, if you're not gonna get in touch with that anger and you're not gonna allow yourself to feel it, Slayer does get to come out. He doesn't get to
Mm.
like name call and do a bunch of stuff, but like we need a part that is self-respecting, that is setting limits, that is saying like your behavior to me is not okay. And so it's been like a tag team contingencies where like Slayer, if you call people a lot of nasty names and swear at them, you're not allowed to do it anymore. And vice versa. If Molly is like, no, never mind, it's all fine for too long. I'm like,
Mm.
all right, come on in. Because we need anger. We really do in order to signal to us when our boundaries are violated and when people are being disrespectful to us or to people we love. And Molly is great at defending all the people she cares about, but not as great at defending herself.
Mm.
No, she's not. And that's the thing too, that I'm working with her. We don't have quote co-consciousness like a lot of the others do. Anything that I do, I have to let her know what I've done because she is not present when I am present. Like
Oh,
she will
wow.
not remember this until I either allow her to remember it and tell her or it's shared with her. We've not been able to gain that dynamic like her and Ruby are co-conscious. She knows when
Huh.
Ruby Molly does.
Mm.
Is that something you want? Do you want that co-consciousness or do you? valued having that separation?
At this point in time, still the separation.
Uh-huh.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day.
Hmm.
Why do you make that distinction that right now you want that separation?
Because I still don't think that Molly could handle all the anger if I were to give her the information or allow her to feel it within the body itself.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Too much.
Hmm. Hmm.
How do you feel about you being the one that there's some fear around? Like, we can't let Slayer out, or what's Slayer gonna do?
It makes me laugh.
Okay.
I don't know. Um, it's fear of my actions. It's not really fear of me that she has.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when the whole world has been big, bad, mean, and ugly, then it's just as easy to put it off on me and not want me to be around and not want to hear what I'll have to say.
Makes sense.
Time's coming.
We're working on it. That's some bogus.
What do you want for yourself?
To be heard,
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
understood. Anger is anger. Evil is evil. Anger is not evil.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the evil one just because I might have that anger. But my God, I have enough to be angry about.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, for
So
this
well
life.
said. How do you were saying that there are certain people that you feel a lot of anger towards, right? That, and you were saying you have to hold it sometimes and learn to let it go. How do you work with that? I'm sure there's some people in your life that you still hold a lot of anger to, rightfully so. What do you do with that anger? What do people do with that anger? They've been hurt by someone. They're really, really pissed at someone. What do you do?
For me, one of the things I do on a daily basis is write.
Mm.
Write. I have to put down in words. I have to put it down somewhere. So I put it down in words and I write. I can't draw nothing, but I write.
Mm.
And sometimes I go outside and I scream.
Hmm.
And nobody can hear us out here. It's great. Because, when the mother is still alive and we have to deal with her and like I have a lot against her and Molly's working on all that shit, but
Yes,
Mm.
justified.
Hmm.
yes, it is justified.
Hmm.
Sometimes I have to remind Molly that
I know.
it's justified.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, they all kind of forget about like why we're all here and why I have this anger. Everything that happened is a hell of a lot to be angry about. Any child that has gone through what we went through, as long as we went through,
Yeah, in some ways you make the most sense.
Mhm.
Like, how could there not be extreme anger?
there's a problem if you're not angry about that. Any child that is hurt, no matter how extensively, if somebody doesn't get pissed about that, that's fucked up.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about effectiveness and like how the difference between acting on anger in like meaning making ways, where like we are looking into volunteering for kiddos who have been abused and finding opportunities to be like, no, 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 I can protect. I'm a grown up and like I am able to be a voice for people who don't have voices versus like vengeance. Like there was an action urge of like finding people and just like keeping tabs so that they wouldn't be a threat. And it's like, okay, to some extent makes sense and is making you nuts. Like, where are the boundaries where anger is helpful and effective? Are there people we want to confront versus not? And thinking through, like, what are the pros and cons? And you've been just so willing to do that, which is, again, like when we think of anger, we think of this like rage, lack of logic, and you're very much the opposite. Like, you're very much like, yeah, if there was a benefit to go and completely nuts and like posting a billboard to the entire world, I would do it. But like, actually, that isn't what is going to make this right. What is going to make this right is like having a voice and making sure that other people in this position don't feel trapped and stuck. And so part of it is also channeling anger towards like, oh, rage, I just want to smash things. Sometimes let's go smash things. Other times, like, how can we direct that in a way that like creates growth and goodness instead of more
Action.
action?
Needs to be more action.
Sarah, why did you in particular want to come talk to us today?
Because I'm not bad. I'm not scary. I sound a little odd. And I hold the anger. And that's even for Molly is so it's the new one, it's the least dealt with one. And like she's working on it. And it's time now. For a long time it wasn't time. To, to hold the grief, the sorrow, and the anger all at the same time truly was beyond her capability. And even for some of us, I don't feel the sorrow. I don't feel that. It's too much. My job is to hold the anger.
Do you hope to ever integrate all those emotions into yourself? Or are you kind of cool with, yeah, okay.
Like we had long enough and I gave you the whole story of everything, not even everything, but like the legit like of the stuff that we went through to get a true understanding. Like why would anybody, one person, want to remember all that, feel all that, and deal with all that? I mean, there probably are people out there that are quite capable of it, but I'd like to meet them because if they're not just batshit crazy, it's a miracle.
Are you looking forward to Molly being able to hold more anger, or does that mean there's less for you to do? Like, how does that feel if Molly learns to hold more of the anger herself?
Would be nice to share some of it so that there's not like this wall and division where I see where some of the others have been able to, like Ruby. So that would be nice because there are still times where you feel like you're living in a secret world. You're holding secrets from somebody you care deeply about. And it's not secrets. It's reality. It's just like the fact that there has to be the right time for it.
Right. Ruby was saying that because she isn't as needed all the time. She doesn't have to do her job as much anymore. She gets more freedom to create and travel and do art. What would that look like for you if you can share a little bit of the anger with Molly? What would you want to do with that freedom?
I don't know. I think for me, part of it is just finding something tranquil, whereas there's quiet. Being able to go to be around some water and just sit and just be away from all the noise in our head, all the hustle and bustle of daily life that people have to do. Finally having some time of peace and quiet. And like I have a door, and one day I'll get to go through that door, but right now I don't get to go through that door.
I've got a secret though. You can. Not for like days. We probably will need anger at some point during that time, but like you want to take 10, go on ahead. You can let me know. I'll make sure we got it covered. You
And
deserve
I'll
that.
get there. I'll get there. She'll get there.
She will. Is there anything else you would like to share with folks before we turn it over to Alex? And please don't let her come out until I am not looking at you because I'm like pretty dissociated already.
That's funny. I don't know. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I don't think so. This has just been so fascinating, and I'm like rooting for you to get to that tranquility because if anyone, you deserve it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
We appreciate you talking about the good parts and the bad parts of anger, that it's not just evil, it's not evil, it's an emotion that everyone has. And I love the way you put it, like action. It makes you act, and that's really important.
And for so long, we weren't able to act. That was,
Mhm.
and really now that after moving from where we moved from, like we finally have found a place where we are safe. It is okay. And like I know that for myself, that like there are days when I go outside and scream, I can act on that anger.
Hmm.
Like we as a whole system will even get there, whether it's Molly or even some of the other ones that have some of that anger. We're finally in a safe place where we can do that. And that
Yeah.
makes a big difference also.
Yeah.
I do have one more question because I know you and the other parts all have relationships with each other, but Molly also has a partner. What's it like do you have a relationship with her partner? How does that feel?
Yeah. We all have a relationship with her. Some of us are closer to her than others. I have to bite my tongue because I'm the one that could say things that probably should be said but aren't said, but it's not always my place to say things. It's taken a,
Mm.
it's taken a while for us to have respect for Molly to be able to have her relationship, her time when it doesn't matter what we think, feel, we don't get to say it out loud. That's odd.
It's like when any of our friends are in a
Yeah.
relationship that it might even be a wonderful relationship, but sometimes the partner does something or our friend does something and we're like, oh, I want to butt in, but I can't.
Yes. Yes. That's why sometimes it gets really noisy in her head because some of us are saying shit. Like, you should say this, you should do this, but, doesn't mean that she's going to agree or willingly do it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
All right, friend. It was so lovely to see you. I'm going to go grab some iced coffee while Alex comes out. Could you give her a heads up that I will not be on the screen, but am here and will be right there?
Yes.
Cool. Cool. You
Hi,
got this.
Slayer.
I'll be
Hi,
back.
Slayer. It was so
Bye,
nice to
Slayer.
meet you.
Hi, guys. It was nice to meet you.
Alex?
Hi.
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 Caitlin
Nice
will
to
be
meet
right
you.
here.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
here.
she doesn't do well when we come out. Like, she's like, yeah, it's we don't
I'm
want her to have a
keeping,
bad headache.
yeah, that's very considerate of you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Mm, I'm the risky teenager that, caused a lot of trouble in the past and like would like to party and do crazy things and yeah, and I don't really do that kind of stuff anymore.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And like day-to-day stuff, like if Molly doesn't want to do it or there's too much going on, then I'll like jump in and then do stuff because I like to stay active. I don't like to
Okay.
sit around.
Mm.
I like to go places. And Molly, she doesn't like to go places, so I do a lot of the going places.
Mm. How old are you?
18.
18.
Do you
Mhm,
miss partying?
mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Had a lot of fun doing all kinds of stuff, but
I was a big partier too when I was 18. 19 and 20 and 21, 20, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Tell us about your partying days. What was that like?
ooh,
Caitlin's making a face. Oh, you're not making a face.
we used to drink a lot, did some drugs. Thank goodness we never really got hooked on anything, but we
Mm.
would go down to Atlanta for the weekend and raise hell and go up to DC and see people and go to concerts and stuff like that.
Did we get permission to do those things?
Alex is saying no for the record.
Well, we didn't, and that was problematic. I, unlike Slayer, I never got on an airplane and went somewhere.
Slayer didn't tell us that. Where did he go? Where did he go?
Disneyland.
Florida.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought that was driving. Oh my gosh, that's a trip. That's
I mean, I got in the car several times and would drive to the mountains or down to Atlanta or whatever, but
Mhm.
just for the weekend or something.
Mhm.
Mhm. You
Yeah.
sound like a good time.
Yeah.
Don't encourage me to.
Why do you think Molly, like, why do you think you got to be the partier and not Molly? Why is that a role that you took?
Because she didn't know how to.
Okay.
When like we went off to college and stuff, like everything before then was very like you were told how to do things and that's what you did. And like, you really didn't really think for yourself. And
Mhm.
you're always watching over your shoulder. And choosing to drink because you wanted to was a different thing too, instead of being fed something or given something.
Mhm.
Like when Molly went off to college and stuff, that was a great time. Mhm.
Oh, so it was a very strict household. You all grew up in a very strict
Yeah,
house.
dad was retired military.
Mm-hmm.
Um, both parents worked full-time jobs,
Mm-hmm.
go to church every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't go to church on Sunday, you didn't come out of your bedroom all day, except for to eat.
Mm.
Had to be involved with an extracurricular activity and a church something. Hand bells, choir, one of those stupid things. But then it was also a way to be out of the house, so it was kind of fun too.
Mm-hmm.
Part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alex, do you feel happy?
Yeah, I feel happy
Okay.
sometimes. That was part of the thing, and that we had to I had to work with Molly to start to feel over the years was happy
Mm.
because I did so much of the fun stuff she didn't because she couldn't function. So as she was able to function and handle stuff, it was even allowing her to finally feel happiness and doing some of the fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What a nice role that is.
To be fair, we've also done some pretty horrific trauma work. So you've not been all fun and games. I think part of the partying is also like your flavor, your very fun flavor, albeit of coping with stuff that you weren't ready to feel yet.
Mm-hmm.
And when we took partying away, I think like a lot of that rose to the surface.
That's when reality hit.
Mm.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry, not sorry.
When did you have to stop partying?
Um, oh well we stopped partying probably just a few years after Molly started going in and out of psychiatric hospitals.
Mm.
And then finally, like the last hoorah of anything crazy that I did was probably around 2012.
Mm.
As healing started happening and we started communicating with each other and learning like what was going on. And when you want something, you have to work with somebody else. So we started working together kind of like a system, and so everybody could have some time because like I still want to go do things and I still like to do fun things, and just sitting in my room is not fun.
Mhm.
Mm.
And Molly's worked on a lot of stuff, so like, and then working with Caitlin and myself on the things that were getting really hard and the memories coming back and all that, then Caitlin and I started working together.
Mm. So did you also do prolonged exposure with Caitlin or oof, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I would come out and I couldn't function because remembering things, and then like Molly wasn't able to function, and like it was just like a mill of a hess there for a while. And
Mhm.
I don't want to feel like that all the time.
Didn't
And
we interrupt Molly's prolonged exposure to do prolonged exposure with you and then wrap up? Yeah, that was a mess of a time. We were missing some really key pieces of a trauma and very curious as to why we were not habituating when that had always happened.
Oh.
We're like, something is wrong, but we don't know what. And so sometimes, like, that is not in Molly's consciousness. And we have to literally like pull and be like, all right, team, who's got some shit that they're holding on to and letting slip a little bit, not on purpose. And like, yeah, it's really cool. It is really doing prolonged exposure on totally different people and having like different reactions and emotions and
Mm.
core beliefs around it. And it's been really cool. You did
Mm.
such an amazing job of not trying to avoid or shy away from when that had been such a normal part of your coping. You're like wide open, which is very cool.
I get tired of it. You get tired of hurting and carrying something. And then everybody says that you don't have, you can put it down and you don't have to carry it any longer. And then you say that how Molly is growing and being stronger, and you start to see that. And then you realize like you can have a voice and you can say something about how you hurt, feel, or what you think, and nothing's going to happen to you.
Mhm.
And that's not how things used to be. We had to hold so much for so long.
Mm.
Couldn't express anything. So
Mm.
Yeah, and I had totally forgotten that was such a big part of the trauma too, is people telling you if you ever share this, we're gonna find you. You can never tell anyone, nobody will believe you. And so to replicate that internally, where it's like, Alex, you have to hold this and you can't ever share it with Molly because bad things will happen. It was healing in and of itself to be able to say, like, oh, I can speak this. I can say what has happened to me and like no horrible thing immediately smote you, which is
Mm.
we're
that's
still here. Nobody's gotten us yet.
yeah.
Plus, a lot of them are dead. So
Mm. Mm. Do you know why? It sounds like each of you might hold different memories or different emotions or different, it sounds like different parts of one memory when you were working on prolonged exposure. You were holding a piece. Do you know why you held on to the pieces you did, or is it just kind of pieces scattered around to the different parts?
some of it's kind of scattered. I can speak for myself and tell you why I came and why I hold, because it was a specific event when Molly went off to college and had her first episode of PTSD, her first memory,
Uh,
having a flashback, and literally just, it was crazy for about 3 or 4 days. And I had been present for other things, but that's when I came forward and kind of started taking over that part when she was in college,
mm,
um, carrying the trauma from the most recent things.
oh, I see.
The other
Okay.
little things, it wasn't their job, it wasn't their role to take anything that knew that had happened or any new memories that were coming up. They held the things that happened when it was little, when things first started. Um, if Molly can't hold it all, how could each one of us hold it all either?
Yeah.
Some of them map onto age. So like some of the littles emerged at the time when Molly was that age.
Mhm.
Like some of them correspond to that in kind of a chronological way. And then there are some kind of like floated in there that have specific roles rather than like age specific memories.
Yeah.
Assumedly, because at some point it got too hard to hold specific traumas and we needed like a survivor, or we needed a
Mhm.
executive functioner or whatever it might be.
Or somebody just have a damn good time.
Mhm.
Also, we should talk. I've been trying to get Molly out doing fun stuff for the past month and she's very resistant. I think we could tag team that.
Alex, do you have thoughts about that?
She out. She's little by little. I mean, even like agreeing to do this and this, like actually coming and happening. Like, I'm glad something positive's happening to show her that, like, it's okay. There's a way. There are things. And, I hound her all the time about going places and doing stuff. And every now and then when we do go do something, it's usually either because it's either like a part of therapy to go do something or because like I'm just aggravating the piss out of her. Um,
Good.
but I have permission to drive. So like if I want to go somewhere within reason, I'm allowed to go. I don't
Okay.
necessarily wait on her. So that's good.
What do you have planned for your next day out?
I don't have anything planned yet because the weather's so crazy.
What was that?
But
Is there something you're looking forward to?
I'm excited for the weather to warm up. I like to kayak. So warm up just a little bit before we can put the boat in the water. And then we've had to wait. It's been a long couple years because this physical body's had surgeries and stuff. So I've had to wait a long time to be able to do some of the things I have to be doing.
What is it like to be 18, but then to be in a certain physical body some of the time?
Awful.
Okay.
It's awful. When she had hip surgery and couldn't walk for 6 months, when all you want to do is walk around and be outside instead of cooped up in a house because you feel claustrophobic living in a house. Yeah, you have to. That's when the internet really, when we really finally got permission all to open reigns. Googling stuff, looking at foreign places. I think that's how Ruby partially created some of the places and gets to pick where she wants to go travel, reading about it. And we're all avid readers, so we all get, time to read stuff. So, and that's how you, with the body not cooperating with what you want to do.
Does it feel like your body or does it feel like Molly's body that you just sort of take over sometimes?
Feels like it's my body when I'm here, but like I know it's her. Looking in the mirror, I don't look in the mirror. Some of them look in the mirror and see Molly, and some of them look in the mirror and will describe themselves, and that's not like pictures of Molly.
Okay.
I don't look in the mirror.
Because why?
It's creepy.
Okay.
It's one of my things. I just don't like mirrors.
Fair enough. So why did you want, like, so Ruby was saying like she wanted to come talk because there are just so many misconceptions about this whole DID thing. Is that why you wanted to come to talk to us too, or?
Yeah, that and like I don't know if anybody can really understand it, but like you were just asking, that was a really good question. How do I see myself or how do I see this body? Each one of us may answer that different. And how can each one of them answer different if they're all in the same body? It just is. And another system might answer it completely different. There are not any two people with the idea exactly alike, and how their systems work and operate are all very different. And that I think we're lucky that we've gotten to where we are, like to have co-consciousness with the others and even Amy, where it's not like a constant struggle.
Yeah.
Where there's communication and we can work together. Makes it easier.
What does a typical day look like
For me or for Molly?
for you? Oh, I know Molly.
Well, in the morning when she's having coffee, we'll have our parts meeting, and that's when everybody comes out in the room. And we all sit around the table and we talk about like what's going on, what happened the day before, what's going on that day. Like if there was like today there was going to be a dentist appointment. So we were told there was going to be a dentist appointment. Then it was agreed upon who was going to take care of being at the dentist appointment and what information Molly would get at that moment or what would be later. When it's medical stuff, usually we make sure the little ones are put in their room and they don't come back out. And then if it's somebody's time for later that day, we decide whose time it is. because every day somebody gets at least 15 minutes at some point in the day scheduled to do whatever they want to do, whether it's work on something fun, whatever. And then after we do that, a lot of times I'm sitting in my room just kind of seeing what's going on. Sometimes I'm reading a book if Molly's doing something stupid or boring or nothing. I entertain myself.
How
I have
does
with
how does
others.
time pass? Like, does it feel like boring? Does it feel like a long time between part meeting and next part meeting?
No. Each part meeting doesn't feel like a long time. The only thing that feels like a long time is your time to be out doing what you want to do with nobody bothering you, without having to answer to anybody else and not having to explain yourself.
Seems like all of you like having the freedom and peace to be alone. It sounds like, that there's a lot of carving out of your own time and, yeah, sense of tranquility.
Yeah, because there isn't much time alone, and there isn't a lot of tranquility on a regular basis.
Along with what Caitlin was just asking about time. So when Molly describes when you all kind of come, like take over, she's like, there are these big gaps in my memory. It'll be 2 p.m. and then suddenly it's 8 p.m. Do you experience that, or for you, is it just like any other person's sense of time?
I think there must be gaps because I don't have a clock in my room. I don't always know what time it is. And when I'm doing something, I'm doing something. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I don't ever feel like I don't know what's going on.
You're always conscious. You're always aware. Mm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you have parts that you're closer to and some you're not? Do you have like a best friend, or do you have someone you talk to a lot or work with a lot, or?
Alec, Alec, Ruby and I are close. Eli and I are buddies.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I tolerate everybody else.
Okay.
Don't tell them that.
And I'll say I'm kind of hard to get along with, but I mean, I'm really not. It's just that for a long time, I spent a lot of time taking care of the little ones. Ruby and I spent a lot of time with the little ones, keeping them safe, keeping them quiet, trying to keep them going along. And we spent a lot of time keeping Eli out of trouble.
Mm-hmm. So for a partier, you were also incredibly responsible.
Yeah,
No kidding, you had to blow off some steam.
exactly. And that's part of too, like even part of what I carried from Molly because at a young age, she had to become very responsible, cooking dinner for the family, you know,
Mm.
like the age of 9 or whatever, all these responsibilities that shouldn't have been hers. So like, that's kind of where part of this comes from.
Mm.
Mhm.
So interesting that sometimes your role is both sides of the role. Like Slayer was saying that he is in charge of the anger, but also managing the anger so it doesn't come out in ways that are not good. For you, it's having fun, being irresponsible, being a college student, really, just doing fun things, and also taking care of the littles, which is really responsible. So it's all like both sense of responsibility.
It's a constant juggling act.
Mhm.
Juggling isn't the same as it used to be.
Mm.
There is more peace. We all have our own rooms now. The little ones can self-soothe. Miss
Mm.
is now here and she does a lot of that. And we've had the opportunity to work on the things we need to work on and have time and and even work with Molly some.
Mm.
We did sleep training after Gibby and I did sleep training roughly around the same time. And as I was doing it, I was like, wait a minute, we can do this with Molly. We did sleep training with
Smart.
and like practicing self-soothing and tolerating and finding comfort items. I'm not a developmental psychologist, and so I am flying by the seat of my pants, but it's really cool. A lot thanks to you. Alex, is there anything else that you would like to share with the world?
No, it's just exciting that somebody like actually cares about us.
We are so excited to meet all of you. This is incredibly exciting for us. And it sounds like you all have such a beautiful system together.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Days. Most days. It's
Yeah.
taken a lot, but like, I don't know, just we can work together and like most days it's kind of fairly calm and we hear what each other has to say and we're able to function and therefore Molly can function and and we're not being forced to do anything and we're not being forced to told that we have to go away and we're not being forced that anything.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
wonderful.
also been really nice to get to be on this podcast and share with you guys. It has been a nice reflection because there's always life stuff where it's like mystery illness and grieving loss. And it's easy to feel like, wow, things are so hard right now and everything is a mess. And to be able to reflect on how much your family is like supporting itself, supporting one another, and like how different it is, where it's just like, oh, we're coping with like life stressors. Wow, that's so much easier than like, surprise, I'm running through the woods and you're never gonna find me. Cool. Oh, wow. Painful, hard, and like so different than it used to be. You guys have all worked really hard.
Yeah, it is way different than it used to be and it's so much better.
Yeah.
That's that people need to know no matter what it is, there's hope.
Yeah.
There's hope. There's hope for something to change. And even if it's just 1%.
Oh, that's who I forgot. Sorry, Hope.
Have you met Hope, Caitlin?
Mm.
Yeah, she doesn't come out a whole lot.
Mhm.
Yeah. She's a little ray of sunshine.
Oh,
Mhm. I interrupted your really touching story. I'm so sorry. But yes, as you are a story of hope for me frequently, and I really appreciate that. Any last questions?
Just want to thank you so much for joining us, Alex. It's been so wonderful hearing your story and everyone else's story. Really appreciate it.
it really has been so nice meeting you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Do you bring Molly back just so she isn't disoriented and returning into the ether without any of us here?
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. You must be tired. How do you feel?
Headache.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Does that often happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not as bad as it used to be. But
Well, you've got some cool parts.
Yeah, they were great.
Everyone crushed it.
Yeah, they did great.
I can't believe this shit is possible. I mean, I can't believe you've got someone going to Paris and yeah, I mean,
and I do not know. That was the one thing that they agreed, and I had to agree that the door would be shut. I would not be present while they spoke.
okay.
Enough trust and respect, and also with Caitlin being present and talking, so I have no idea what's been said, talked about, or who even ended up talking.
We heard from Ruby, Alex, and Slayer.
Yeah. You could always listen to it later if you feel like it, but it was wonderful. It's really lovely to hear the different roles and responsibilities they had and the journeys of yeah, having that responsibility and role, whatever they did, and then seeing that shift over time. Yeah, it was great.
I think that's one of the things we've talked about the last several mornings has been them recognizing the changes that have happened.
Hmm.
Like, instead of their roles being such a rock solid, like this is it and only this, like how it's permeated and like, um, and that has created peace for all of us.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was such a sense of evolution from them. Like, wow, things have changed. There's a lot more harmony, even if
Hmm.
even if we got some snark. But definitely a sense of progress.
And that was one thing that was really important to everybody about this was like that it's not all doom and gloom. There is possibilities. There are good things. There are positive things, even, each part individually, how they've grown and the positive things that has happened for them and then how that benefits me.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
So helpful for treatment. Love talking to those guys. Gonna totally make stuff. It's gonna be fun. Anyway, thank you so much for having us and for
Oh,
letting us share our story. Molly, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
it means a lot, really.
I really
We're
hope this
really
has been,
grateful.
yeah, a good experience. And please let us know if there's any way we can make this as comfortable as possible. If there's anything we need to edit or anything you'd like us to add, like when we market these episodes, because we just want this to be, I know this is part of your healing journey, and I want that to be the case.
Yeah, but also too the fact of like the correct information, real life information. There is about all these other things you hear about and you're able to read about and see about.
Hmm.
So
Right.
why not this in addition? Like I told Caitlin, I don't feel that special. Why does anybody really want to talk with me and hear my story? Like, and then I step outside and I look in and I'm like, oh, okay, now I see why. When you live with something that this just seems like normal everyday life, like everybody's life should be kind of like ours.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It's just so, I mean, it's just this experience of like learning how much further our brains can go, like
Hmm.
what's really possible with this
Hmm.
organ of ours, And I think there's parts of this that just seem so unbelievable because you don't have the imagination to kind of be like, wow, our brains are capable of so much. Um, it's just, I don't know, it's just so fascinating.
Hmm. Yeah, and creating systems that sound very structured and, like orderly, and yet also created so much space and freedom and room. And everyone talked about, really valuing their time of peace of that they could do their thing. And um, so that was just really, interesting to hear the lived experience of that.
Because at one time it was very chaotic. So to have the peace that we have now is is
Yeah.
so different. And I mean, like it can happen for anybody. And just making that and keeping that.
Well, I'm so glad you two came on. Um, yeah. I wish you all the best in your continued treatment journey. It sounds like you guys have done amazing work and have more amazing work to do. And I'm just so, I don't know, so excited for both of you.
Think it's exciting.
Mhm.
Mhm. Alrighty. Well,
Hmm.
Little Helpers, thank you so much for coming on this first two-part journey that we have taken with Molly and Caitlin. We're so, so grateful about this episode, and I just have to imagine that you all loved it too. So we hope that you will continue to tune in, and we will see you next time. By accessing this podcast, I acknowledge that the hosts of this podcast make no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast and any and all content or services available on or through this podcast are provided for general, non-commercial informational purposes only and do not constitute the practice of medical or any other professional judgment, advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and should not be considered or used as a substitute for the independent professional judgment, advice, diagnosis, or treatment of a duly licensed and qualified healthcare provider. In case of a medical emergency, you should immediately call 911. The hosts do not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement.